Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. I'm sitting in my new apartment in Lincoln Square, and I can't help but laugh at the irony. My wife spent 3 months trying to fix what she thought was broken. Turns out, she was right about one thing. I didn't need to evolve. Just not in the way she imagined. 3 months ago, Melissa discovered a podcast called The Evolved Partnership during her commute to her part-time graphic design gig. That's when everything started to change. At first, it was just little comments here and there. You could ask my opinion before deciding to fix the car yourself. Or, I read that taking charge all the time is actually a control behavior. I'd been married to this woman for 9 years. We had a good thing going, or so I thought. I worked as a senior operations manager at a manufacturing logistics company, pulling in around $140,000 a year. Melissa worked 20 hours a week doing freelance design, making maybe $35,000. I handled the mortgage, the utilities, the cars, most of the bills. She had her creative freedom, her yoga classes, her book clubs. It worked. But then came the podcast. Then came the Facebook groups. Then came the sticky notes around our house with quotes about toxic masculinity. The first real blow-up happened at Thanksgiving at my parents' place in Oak Park. My dad, Tom, is a retired union electrician, as blue-collar and traditional as they come. My mom, Patricia, has always been the warm, supportive type. They raised me to be responsible, to take care of my family, to lead when leadership was needed. That Thanksgiving, I was doing what I always did, helping move furniture, carving the turkey, organizing the cleanup. Normal stuff. My dad and I had our routines, We'd move the dining table from the kitchen together, get everything set up. It was just what we did. Melissa pulled me aside in the hallway, her face tight with that expression I was starting to recognize. The one that said I'd done something wrong without knowing it. "You're performing masculinity for your parents," she said, her voice low. "It's exhausting to watch." I stared at her. "I'm helping with Thanksgiving dinner. You're dominating the space. You didn't ask if anyone else wanted to carve the turkey. You just assumed it was your role." "Because I've been carving the turkey for 9 years." "Exactly. That's the problem." We argued in hushed voices while my mom called us back for dinner. I thought maybe she was just stressed. Maybe work was getting to her. I didn't realize this was just the beginning. 6 weeks before everything fell apart, Melissa sat me down for the financial conversation. She'd made a spreadsheet about our marriage. "I've been thinking about the power imbalance in our relationship," she started, her laptop open between us at our kitchen table. "You make most of the money, so you make most of the decisions. That's not equality." "I don't make all the decisions," I said, genuinely confused. "We talk about everything. But you have the final say because it's your money." She used air quotes. "I want equal access to all accounts. Equal say in all spending. You have access to everything. You know all the passwords." That's not the same as having equal financial power. I tried to be reasonable. "Okay, what are you proposing?" "I think we need true financial equality. Equal decision-making power. I don't want to feel dependent on your income anymore." "That sounds like you're talking about splitting expenses equally. 50-50. "Well, yes. Why not? Wouldn't that be fair?" I did the math in my head. Our monthly expenses ran about $5,500. Half of that was $2,750. Her take-home pay was maybe $2,100 a month. "Melissa, that doesn't even work mathematically with your current income. Then I'll get a full-time job. But you love your part-time schedule. You love having time for your art, your yoga. Maybe I've been too comfortable relying on your income. Maybe that's part of the problem." I didn't know what to say to that. The woman who'd appreciated my ability to provide, who'd felt secure in our financial stability, was now calling it a problem. Things escalated 4 weeks ago when she dragged me to Women and Children First bookstore on Clark Street for some conscious relationships workshop. I sat in a circle of folding chairs while a facilitator talked about dismantling patriarchal relationship patterns. Melissa was scribbling notes like a college freshman. When we got home, she left sticky notes everywhere. On the bathroom mirror, "Real men aren't afraid to be vulnerable." On my dresser, "Leadership is listening, not commanding." On the fridge, "Check your masculine privilege." Then came the therapy. Melissa scheduled us with Dr. Elena Whitfield without asking me first. I came home from work one Tuesday to find out we had an appointment the next day. Don't you think we should have discussed this? I asked. That's exactly the kind of controlling behavior we need to address, she replied. Dr. Whitfield's office was in a renovated brownstone in Wicker Park. Earth tones, abstract art, essential oils. The first session was an ambush. For 50 minutes, Dr. Whitfield and Melissa pointed out everything wrong with my masculine conditioning. The way I preferred to drive, control issues, handling home repairs, refusing to let Melissa develop skills, making restaurant reservations, imposing my will. Connor, Dr. Whitfield said in that therapeutic voice, do you recognize how your socialized masculine traits might be affecting your relationship? I'm not sure I agree with the premise, I said carefully. See, Melissa jumped in. He can't even accept feedback without getting defensive. I'm not defensive. I'm disagreeing. That's what defensive people say. It was a perfect trap. Disagree and you're proving their point. Stay silent and they'd interpret it as sulking. But the real breaking point, the moment when I knew something had to change, came at Home Depot 3 weeks ago. We had a leaking pipe under the kitchen sink. Simple fix, just needed a new compression valve and some plumber's tape. I told Melissa I was running to the Home Depot on North Avenue to grab the parts. I'll come with you, she said. We should collaborate on this. It's just picking up a valve. And that attitude right there is the problem. You assume you know what's needed without including me. So she came. We walked the aisles of Home Depot, me trying to find the plumbing section, Melissa insisting I explain every decision. Why that valve and not this one? Because that one's for a different pipe size. But how do you know? Because I've fixed this sink before. Maybe the problem is that you never let me learn. I grabbed the parts. Standing in the checkout line, Melissa was scrolling through her phone, probably reading another article about masculine dominance in household repairs. I was just tired. Tired of defending basic competence. Tired of having to justify my own knowledge. Tired of being made to feel like everything I did was somehow oppressive. In the parking lot, loading the parts into my truck, she started in again. You know what your problem is? She didn't even look up from her phone. You can't handle sharing responsibility because it threatens your masculine identity. Something in me just broke. Not in an angry way. In a crystal clear, perfectly calm way. I looked at this woman, my wife of 9 years, and I realized she doesn't want a partner. She wants a project. She wants to take everything that makes me who I am and rebuild it according to some podcast host's vision of evolved masculinity. And right then, standing in that Home Depot parking lot with a compression valve in my hand, I decided to give her exactly what she was asking for. The drive home was silent. Melissa could tell something had shifted, but she didn't know what. I spent that evening fixing the sink while she made dinner, and I didn't say more than 3 words. My mind was working through the plan. If she wanted evolution, she was going to get evolution. The most thorough, complete, evolved version of masculinity she could imagine. And by the time I was done, she'd understand exactly what she'd been trying to destroy. Saturday morning, I made her favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with real maple syrup. I set the table carefully, even put out a small vase with flowers I'd grabbed from the corner store. When she came down, still in her pajamas, she looked surprised. What's all this? I've been thinking, I said, pulling out her chair. About everything you've been saying. About my masculine conditioning and how I need to evolve. She sat down slowly, suspicious but hopeful. Okay, you're right. About everything. I need to move past this outdated masculine programming. Her eyes widened. Really? I want to embrace emotional availability. I want to reject dominance behaviors. I want to learn to follow instead of lead. I sat down across from her, making sure to meet her eyes. I'm ready to become the man you need me to be. The smile that spread across her face was like watching someone win the lottery. Oh my God, Connor. I can't believe, yes. Yes, this is amazing. I think I need your help though. Creating a roadmap. What exactly should I be working on? She practically vibrated with excitement. Within an hour, she'd pulled up documents on her laptop, notes from her podcasts, excerpts from her books. We spent the whole morning at our kitchen table while she outlined my evolution plan. Daily emotional check-ins, she said, typing. You need to practice expressing your feelings openly, without filtering them through masculine stoicism. That makes sense. And decision-making. I want you to defer to me on choices, big and small. Not because I need to control things, but because you need to break your habit of assuming leadership. Absolutely. What else? There's a men's support group that meets in Oak Park. The Evolved Masculinity Circle. I think it would be really good for you. I'll go to the first one this weekend. And we should split household tasks equally, regardless of skill level. Just because you know how to fix things doesn't mean you should always be the one to do it. You're right. That's me hoarding competence. She beamed at me. That afternoon, while she was in her home office working, I got busy with my own preparations. First, I downloaded an app that could send automated text messages at scheduled intervals. I programmed in messages set to rotate throughout business days. Then I signed up for the men's group she'd mentioned and researched the facilitator. Finally, I put together a detailed financial spreadsheet showing what a true 50-50 split would look like. I saved it for the right moment. By the time Melissa emerged from her office that evening, I was ready. Monday morning, 8:47 a.m. The first automated message went out while Melissa was in her first virtual meeting of the day. Feeling really vulnerable about my growth journey. Do you think I'm evolving fast enough? She texted back during a break. You're doing great. So proud of you. 9:23 a.m. Just saw a bird outside my office window, and it made me think about freedom and masculine cages we build for ourselves. Her response, that's beautiful. We'll talk tonight. Missing you so much. Can we process my feelings about dependency when you get home? 11:02 a.m. Thinking about how my relationship with my father shaped my masculine performance. There's so much to unpack. By lunch, her responses were getting shorter. By mid-afternoon, she'd stopped responding altogether. But the messages kept coming throughout her workday, every 30 to 45 minutes during active work periods, like clockwork. Had a challenging interaction with a vendor. Felt my masculine aggression rising. Breathe through it, but need to debrief. For 32 p.m., what if I'm not capable of real emotional evolution? This fear is overwhelming. 6:15 p.m., grateful for your patience with my process. You're my rock through this transformation. When she got home that evening, she looked tired. Hey, so those texts, were they helpful? I asked eagerly. I'm really trying to stay connected to my emotional state throughout the day. They were. A lot. Too much emotional availability? She caught herself. No, it's good. It's just, maybe space them out a little. But you said I needed to express my feelings openly. I thought constant emotional connection was important. It is, it's just. Are you saying I'm being too emotionally expressive? The trap closed. She couldn't say yes without contradicting everything she'd been preaching for months. No, of course not. It's fine. It's good. I just need to adjust. I understand. This is new for both of us. Thank you for being patient with my growth. That evening, I asked for a 2-hour feelings processing session. We sat on the couch while I talked about my childhood, my father's emotional unavailability, my fear of vulnerability, my anxiety about becoming the evolved man she needed. Every time she tried to suggest we watch TV or move on to something else, I'd gently redirect us back to processing my emotions. But don't you think we've covered this? She asked around the 90-minute mark. Dr. Whitfield says rushing through emotional work is a masculine avoidance tactic. I really need to sit with these feelings. By the time we went to bed, she looked exhausted. But this was what she wanted, right? A man who wasn't afraid to be vulnerable and emotional. By Tuesday of that first week, I started using her bathroom products. I took over the bathroom for 90 minutes. Used her $180 La Mer face cream, her $95 retinol serum, her specialty hair mask. Left caps off, products scattered, towels on the floor. Babe, did you use my La Mer? Melissa asked when she saw the chaos. You were right about men needing to embrace self-care and connect with feminine energy. She looked at the mess. Maybe just be a little more organized? Organization is just another form of masculine control. I'm learning to be more free-flowing and intuitive. She couldn't respond without contradicting herself. Wednesday morning, I occupied the bathroom for 2 hours. Melissa knocked at the 45-minute mark. Connor, I need to get ready for work. I'm in the middle of my self-care ritual. Dr. Whitfield said honoring my feminine side is crucial to my evolution. But I have a meeting. Can you use the guest bathroom? I really need to complete this process without interruption. I heard her footsteps retreat. I took my time, using every product, leaving the bathroom looking like a hurricane had hit it. When I emerged, face mask still on, Melissa was rushing around getting her laptop set up. Can you take a photo of me for my growth journey Instagram? I asked. She stared at me. You don't have an Instagram. I'm starting one. To document my evolution. I think it could help other men. She took the photo without another word. Saturday evening, I suggested we celebrate my first week of growth with dinner out. We drove to Bavette's Bar and Berth on Kinsey Street, a nice steakhouse, usually one of our favorites. The host greeted us. Good evening, table for two? I looked at Melissa. Do you think we want two seats? I don't want to assume. She stared at me. Yes, we want two seats. Are you sure? I just want to make sure I'm not influencing the decision with my masculine energy. The host's smile became fixed. Melissa grabbed my arm. Two seats. Please. We were led to our table. When the waiter brought menus, I didn't open mine. Just sat there looking at Melissa. What are you getting? She asked. I don't want to influence your decision with my preferences. What do you think I should get? Just order what you want, Connor. But that's my masculine dominance talking. You choose for me. Her jaw tightened. Fine. You'll have the ribeye, medium rare, with the Brussels sprouts. Wait. I leaned forward. Are you sure about that? How does that choice make you feel? Are you choosing it because you think it's what I want, or because it's truly what feels right for me? The waiter shifted his weight. I can come back. No. We need to examine the power dynamics in this decision, I said earnestly. Who has agency here? Am I being passive or am I being evolved? 20 minutes later, we still hadn't ordered. Melissa's face was red. Other diners were glancing over. The waiter had walked away and come back twice. Can you please just order your own food? Melissa hissed. But you told me I needed to stop making unilateral decisions. I'm trying to honor your leadership. When the sommelier came for wine selection, I directed him to Melissa. I'd usually just pick, but I'm learning that's toxic masculine decision-making. My wife will choose. After Melissa ordered a bottle of red, I asked, can we talk about why you chose that wine? What does that choice reveal about our power dynamic? The sommelier fled. The steak came out overcooked, clearly more well done than medium rare. Melissa pointed it out. Your steak is wrong. I stared at it thoughtfully. Is it though? Maybe I'm meant to experience this steak as it is. Who am I to impose my will on the kitchen? Connor, just send it back. That feels very confrontational. I'm trying to be less aggressive in my interactions. I ate the entire overcooked steak while discussing my feelings about it. Melissa ate quickly, barely tasting her food. When the check came, I didn't reach for it. She paid. I thanked the universe for her generosity. In the truck on the way home, she was silent, fuming. I thought that went really well, I said. Did you notice how I resisted my masculine impulses to just take charge? She didn't respond. The following Monday, beginning of week 2, I presented Melissa with my financial equality spreadsheet over coffee. I've been thinking about what you said about the provider mentality being toxic. I started. About how my income creates a power imbalance. She looked up from her phone. Okay. So I made a spreadsheet. Our monthly expenses total about $5,540. Currently, I'm paying about $4,780 of that, roughly 86%. You contribute about $760, or 14%. Connor, I'm proposing true equality. We each pay exactly half, $2,770 per month. The color drained from her face. But I only make about $2,100 a month after taxes. Right. So you'd need to increase your income. Maybe take on more design work, or transition to a full-time position. But I work part-time so I can pursue my creative projects. You know that. I do. And I've been subsidizing that freedom, which creates the exact power imbalance you've been concerned about. This way, we're truly equal partners. This is insane, is it? You've spent months telling me that my role as primary provider is toxic. This is me evolving past that. She stood up, pacing the kitchen. You can't just suddenly change our entire financial arrangement. Why not? You wanted equality. This is what equality looks like. I left the spreadsheet on the table. By Tuesday, she was frantically applying for full-time positions. By Wednesday, she'd canceled her yoga class membership. By Thursday, I overheard her on the phone with Victoria, her best friend, complaining about financial abuse. How can equality be abuse? I asked when she got off the phone. That seems contradictory. She didn't answer. That same week, Friday night was monthly dinner with my parents in Oak Park. My dad had made his famous pot roast. My mom had the table set beautifully. It was cold, late February in Chicago, snow still on the ground, and their house was warm and welcoming like always. Connor, my mom hugged me, and Melissa, dear, come in. My dad shook my hand, that firm grip he'd always had. How's work, son? Work has been challenging, I said, my voice softer than usual. I've been trying to be less dominant in meetings, let others' voices be heard more. My dad frowned. Your job is operations manager. You're supposed to manage. That title is just a patriarchal structure though, right? Real leadership is about following. My parents exchanged a look. My mom changed the subject quickly. Let's eat before the food gets cold. At dinner, my mom mentioned that the Johnsons' dog had died. Old age, peaceful passing, but still sad. I felt my eyes welling up. That story is really affecting me. Can we just take a moment to sit with these feelings? Silence around the table. Connor, are you feeling all right? My mom asked gently. I'm feeling very emotional. I'm learning not to suppress that. When my mom started clearing dishes, I stayed seated. My dad stared at me. You going to help your mother? I'm learning that jumping up to help is often masculine performativity. Sometimes the most evolved thing is to let others serve if that's their choice. Get up and help your mother. Dad, that's your masculine conditioning talking. Connor James Bridges, get up and help clear this table right now. I stayed seated. I need to honor my growth process. Melissa jumped up and started helping my mom. In the kitchen, I could hear my mom's voice, low and worried. What's wrong with him? As we were leaving, my dad needed to clear snow off his car. I stood on the porch watching him scrape ice off the windshield, his breath visible in the cold air. You going to help? He called over. I'm trying not to assume that's my role anymore. Gender equality means everyone is equally responsible. My dad stopped scraping, stared at me, then went back to clearing his car without another word. In the truck, Melissa was silent until we were halfway home. Then she exploded. You embarrassed me in front of your parents. Or maybe they're uncomfortable with evolved masculinity because it threatens their traditional worldview. Your dad thinks there's something wrong with you. My dad represents exactly the kind of masculinity I'm trying to move past. His discomfort validates that I'm on the right path. She couldn't argue with that without contradicting her own ideology. We drove the rest of the way in silence. Saturday, Melissa found an evolved masculinity circle meeting at Unity Temple in Oak Park. She insisted I attend and came to observe. 8 men sat on cushions. The facilitator, Mark, was soft-spoken, gentle. Let's share our intentions for healing, Mark said. I'm here to dismantle my toxic masculine conditioning, I announced. The other men shared struggles with anger and emotions. I dominated the conversation, interrupting constantly. That reminds me of my experience. Every time someone tried to share, I'd talk for 5 minutes. Connor, let's make space for others, Mark said gently. Sorry, I'm still learning not to dominate. That's my masculine conditioning. Then I did it again. During the emotional release exercise, the other men cried quietly. I sobbed loudly, dramatically. I've been so trapped in masculine performance. After the meeting, one guy approached Melissa. Is your husband okay? That seemed performative. In the truck, I said, that was so transformative. I finally understand what you've been trying to teach me. She stared out the window, silent. By the 3rd week, things were deteriorating rapidly. Tuesday evening, I was upstairs when I heard Melissa yell from the basement. Connor, water everywhere down here. I came down to find water spreading across the basement floor, coming from the furnace room. A pipe had sprung a leak. Nothing major, but it needed immediate attention. Melissa was panicking. What do we do? I examined the leak calmly. I'm not sure. What do you think we should do? You're the one who knows about this stuff. That's a gendered assumption. We're equally capable of handling household issues. Connor, the water is spreading. Maybe we should call a plumber? Can't you just fix it like you usually do? I could, but that would be falling back into my masculine fixer role. I think we should collaborate on this. I don't want to collaborate. I want you to fix it. That sounds like you're expecting me to perform traditional masculine labor. I thought we were moving past that. The water was now spreading toward the carpeted area. Melissa called a plumber with emergency rates, $3.50 for a visit. I sat on the stairs watching while she frantically laid down towels. Do you need help? I asked, or would my assistance feel like masculine imposing? Just help me. I don't want to assume that's my role. The plumber arrived 20 minutes later and fixed it in 15 minutes. It was a simple valve that needed tightening. You could have just turned the shutoff valve, the plumber told me as he packed up. I'm learning to let professionals handle things instead of assuming I should know everything. The plumber left looking confused. Melissa cleaned up the water damage alone while I watched from the stairs. I'm proud of how you took charge in that crisis, I said. She didn't respond. Didn't even look at me. Saturday afternoon, we went grocery shopping at the Jewel-Osco on Sheridan. I insisted on collaborative shopping, which meant I asked questions about every single item. Do we really need organic tomatoes? What does this choice say about our values? Connor, please. I'm trying to be more mindful and present in the process. In the parking lot, we were loading groceries into the truck when a guy in his late 20s approached. He had that aggressive energy of someone who thought he was charming, but was really just pushy. Hey, beautiful, he said to Melissa. Need help with those bags? No, thank you, Melissa said firmly. He stepped closer. Don't be like that. Let me get your number. I'm not interested. He moved to block her path to the driver's door. Come on, just talk to me for a minute. Melissa looked at me desperately. I continued loading groceries, deliberately not making eye contact with the guy. Seriously, beautiful, what's the harm in being friendly? He grabbed her arm. Connor. Melissa's voice was sharp with fear. I don't feel comfortable with confrontation, I said, my voice deliberately weak. Masculine aggression has caused so much harm. Melissa yanked her arm free. Leave me alone. An elderly couple was walking toward their car nearby. The guy noticed them watching and backed off, getting into his car and driving away. In our truck, Melissa was shaking. What the hell was that? He was grabbing me. I could feel my masculine protective instincts rising, but I know those are just primitive responses. You're perfectly capable of handling yourself. He could have hurt me. Physical intervention would have been toxic masculine aggression. I've been learning that women don't need men to rescue them. Her hands were trembling on the steering wheel. That's not what that means, isn't it? You've spent months telling me my protective instincts are problematic. She drove home in silence, but I could see the gears turning in her head. Sunday evening was Greg Sullivan's game night. Greg and I had been friends since college. We played football together at University of Illinois. He usually hosted a poker night at his place in Lakeview. Just guys, beer, sports on TV. It was our monthly tradition. Melissa announced she was coming with me. I thought it was guys' night, Greg said when he opened the door and saw both of us. I thought it would be nice to have Melissa here, I said. Male-only spaces can reinforce toxic bonding patterns. Greg looked confused, but let us both in. 5 other guys were already there, and they all did double takes when they saw Melissa. We sat down to play poker. Every hand. I asked Melissa's permission before acting. Is it okay if I raise? I don't want to seem aggressive. The other guys exchanged looks. I folded a straight flush. Dude, why did you fold? Rick asked. Competition is just another form of masculine dominance. I'm trying to move past that. It's poker. The whole point is to compete. But why? What does winning prove except that I'm perpetuating hierarchical thinking? The Bears game was on in the background. The guys started discussing plays, coaching decisions, the usual sports talk. I find sports culture really problematic now, I announced. It's all about aggression and dominance. Dead silence. It's football, man, Rick said carefully. Right, which glorifies violence and masculine bravado. I'm trying to move away from that. Greg looked at Melissa. Is he serious right now? He's very serious about his growth journey, Melissa said, but her voice was strained. When Greg offered me a beer, I shook my head. I've been thinking about how beer drinking is tied to masculine performance. Do you have any white wine spritzer? I have beer and whiskey. Water is fine then. I'm learning to reject masculine drinking culture. Tom, another friend, finally said, what the hell happened to you? I'm evolving. Melissa has helped me see how toxic traditional masculinity is. Everyone looked at Melissa. She shifted uncomfortably. And then, because the moment wasn't awkward enough, I started crying. You guys don't understand, I said through tears. I've been living in a cage of masculine expectations my whole life. The guys sat frozen, beer bottles halfway to mouths, cards forgotten. Can we turn off the game and just talk about our feelings? I asked. Greg stood up. Connor, maybe you should head home. See? This is exactly the problem. Men can't be vulnerable without being shut down. I cried harder. Melissa stood up too. We should go, she said quietly. As we left, I heard Greg behind us. What the fuck was that? In the parking lot, Greg caught up to us. Seriously, Connor, what the hell was that? I'm just being authentic. Authentic? That wasn't you. That was… I don't even know what that was. He turned to Melissa. What did you do to him? He's going through something, Melissa said, but she didn't sound convinced. Yeah, a breakdown. Greg looked at me like I was a stranger. Get help, man. Seriously. The drive home was silent, but something had shifted. I could feel it. Melissa kept glancing at me like she was seeing me, really seeing what I'd become for the first time. I'm disappointed in how they reacted to my vulnerability, I said. You were a lot, Melissa said quietly. You can't mean that. This is exactly what you wanted. I don't know what I want anymore. The next week was mostly silence. Melissa barely spoke to me. She took phone calls with Victoria in the other room. I'd hear her voice carrying through the walls, the pitch of desperation unmistakable. She couldn't live like this anymore. She'd been wrong. She missed who I was. The automated messages kept going. She'd stopped responding entirely, but I never turned them off. Each ping was a reminder of the evolved man she demanded. On Thursday, I took a long lunch and met with a divorce attorney. A quiet office in the Loop, wood paneling, degrees on the wall. I explained the situation in clinical terms. By the time I left, the papers were being drawn up. Friday afternoon, we had our third weekly session with Dr. Whitfield since I'd begun my transformation. The first two had been uneventful, me discussing my emotional growth, Melissa nodding along uncomfortably. But this time was different. Melissa had been quiet all morning, her eyes red like she'd been crying. How is Connor's evolution progressing? Dr. Whitfield asked with that therapeutic smile. Melissa broke down. Just completely fell apart. I hate it, she sobbed. I hate all of it. He's not him anymore. Dr. Whitfield leaned forward. Can you elaborate? He's weak. He's needy. He won't make decisions. He won't protect me. He won't lead. He's nothing. Long silence in that office. I could hear traffic outside, the tick of a clock on the wall. These are the exact traits you wanted him to develop, Dr. Whitfield said carefully. I know, but I was wrong. I want my husband back. I'd been sitting quietly in my chair. Now I stood up. So you want the toxic version? You're not toxic. You never were. I got caught up in all these ideas. Ideas about how I needed to change everything about who I am. I made a mistake. I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket. Melissa's face went pale. What is that? Divorce papers. I filed them yesterday. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything. Dr. Whitfield cleared her throat. Connor, perhaps we should take some time to process this decision. Divorce is a significant step. Has she? I looked at Melissa. Or has she just realized that her ideology doesn't work in real life? That's not fair, Melissa whispered. Let me ask you something. When did you start respecting me again? Be specific. I always respected you. No. When did you start wanting the old me back? She couldn't answer. I'll tell you, I said. When I stopped fixing things. When I didn't protect you in the parking lot. When I embarrassed you in front of my parents. When I couldn't lead anymore. You started respecting me the moment you missed my masculine traits. That's not. It's exactly that. You wanted me weak until you needed me strong. You wanted me emotional until it was inconvenient. You wanted me to follow until you needed a leader. You wanted equality until you saw what it actually costs. Melissa was crying. I promise I wouldn't do it again. Until the next wave of ideology comes along. Until your friends convince you of some new way I need to evolve. I walked to the door. Melissa grabbed my arm. Please don't do this. I'm not doing anything. You did this 3 months ago, when you decided fixing me was more important than loving me. I do love you. You love the idea of me. The version that's useful to you. But you don't love the actual person. I left the office. Left her sitting there with Dr. Whitfield and the ruins of her ideology. I moved into the one-bedroom apartment in Lincoln Square that same weekend. It was smaller, quieter, and mine alone. Melissa called every day the first week. I didn't answer. Her texts evolved from angry to pleading to resigned. I let the lawyer handle everything. The weeks passed. I got back into my routines, the gym in the mornings, work without the weight of coming home to someone who saw me as broken, evenings that were peaceful instead of tense. I was rediscovering who I'd been before I became her project. 1 month after I moved out, I was at Intelligentsia Coffee on Broadway. Melissa walked in, saw me, sat down without asking. We need to talk. I've signed the papers. just waiting for you. I understand what I did wrong now. I won't try to change you anymore. You're still not getting it. It's not about the podcasts. It's about who you fundamentally are. You spent 3 months dismantling your husband's identity. What kind of person does that? Someone who made a mistake. No, someone who valued ideology over their partner. I stood to leave. I'll always love you, she said. Maybe, but you'll love the next trending ideology more. 2 weeks later, the notification came. Divorce papers signed. I was at the gym when I got the message. I felt relief and sadness, then kept going with my workout. A woman smiled at me. I smiled back. I thought about the 3 months Melissa spent trying to fix what wasn't broken. But I was still here. Still me. And that was enough. People talk about evolution like it's always forward movement. Sometimes evolution is about not changing. About knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. The next woman who wants to be with me will have to love the whole package. The decisiveness. The leadership. The protectiveness. The strength. Because that's not toxic. That's just me. And I've evolved past thinking that's something I need to fix. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.